Hey y'all, welcome to Tony and Renee 1. I'm your girl Renee. So today we're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to my heart. Topic being, is one college degree enough? Really?
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
Alright, so stay tuned, sit tight, because we're getting ready to get right into it right after this. Okay, so is one college degree enough? I remember when I was working on my 4-year bachelor's degree, I was really excited. I had never had a degree before. I didn't even know if I was gonna go to college. So I went to college, I get this 4-year degree. And I will never forget, someone near and dear to me said, "You think you're happy now? Wait till you get your master's." And I'm like, oh.
Why did you say it like
I'm supposed to get my master's degree?
Yeah.
Man, I wasn't planning on getting no master's degree.
Yeah.
So my thing is one degree really enough?
Yeah.
Or do you gotta get more?
You know, it's a good question. And, you know, me being a first generation graduate, when I went to college, I always thought that, college for me was more so an outlet. And, I'd be able to get a good job, make some good money and things like that. But what I was not informed about is what college would be like after I graduated, once I graduated with my first degree, I had a really, really hard time finding employment. I had a really hard time, not just getting a job, but finding the job you want.
Right.
See, it's a lot of jobs out there. My grandfather used to say, you can get a job shoveling snow off the sidewalk, but is that the job that you want?
Right.
So I had a really, really hard time, and I found that it was a lot of people who I was competing against, and they had accreditations, they had licensures, and I only had a bachelor's degree, with maybe 1 year or 2 years of experience from internships, So me trying to go into my industry and get a full salary level role where it's independent, I had a very, very hard time. I was unemployed for probably about, 6 months. So that was very, very hard for me. So I think, personally, one degree is not enough. And it all depends upon your industry, what industry you in, and how competitive your industry is. So I went back to school to get my master's degree. I got my master's degree in occupational health and safety. Basically, AKA, if you work in the manufacturing industry, it's just like the safety guy. The guy that goes around and tells everybody the OSHA policies, the environmental policies and things like that. So I'm that guy right there to tell you what you can't do to protect you from the workplace. People do not like me, so that's the truth. So I went back and got my master's degree in occupational health and safety, and this made me more competitive. It opened up more doors for me and made me be able to get the jobs that I want. The big name brand companies started calling me and saying, "Hey, we would like to bring you out for an interview," and things like that. But before I had that master's degree, nobody was calling me. I'm talking about I was calling companies, hey, are y'all hiring? And I'm like, "No, we ain't hiring right now. We ain't hiring."
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I feel like, now I noticed you said it depends on the industry you work in. Okay, so you have to really think about that. Like, what industry do you work in? Is getting another degree in that field worth it?
Mm-hmm.
So for you, it works. Now, for me, it works too, but I'm a social worker, I'm a therapist, but I didn't graduate as a therapist. So a lot of that came from just me not knowing, right? So when I got my bachelor's in psychology, ignorant, didn't know, oh, I'm a psychologist. No, you're not. You're not a psychologist unless you get a doctorate in psychology. So you just somebody with a bachelor's degree in psychology. Okay, that's cool too, but you're not about to get the job you thought you was gonna get. So I'm like, well, dang, what can I take down? What steps do I take now? The person close to me already said, wait till you get your master's. So I'm like, well, what do I get my master's in? So I looked at a lot of different things, like what coincides with psychology, what's quicker, because what I'm not trying to do is spend another 4 or 5 years in school.
That's right.
Which I ended up doing because I got pregnant. But you never know where life's gonna take you.
That's right.
So I ended up, getting the master's degree, but what really opened the door for me was when I became certified in the state of Kentucky to practice therapy. And so that was an extra step that I had to take. I did not know that when I started. So my tip to you is, whatever industry it is that you decide to go in or grow in, make sure that you're talking to somebody who's experienced in the industry so they can give you some tips to kind of cut some of that time off along the way, so you're not making some of the same mistakes I made, some of the same mistakes you made.
And that's true, and to be honest, I think what helped me out more than other people, that went to school with me is that I had internships, I was a person that was very, very active when I graduated high school, and when I went and got my bachelor's degree, to start my internships my freshman any year, you know. So you can get that 2 to 3 years of experience, because most jobs require 2 to 3 years of experience for you to even put an application in if you're going to be applying for a salary level job. And this is the job where you're working in the office, basically.
This guy right here had every internship you could think of, and he was set up in that way when he graduated. Whereas in my field, I hadn't interned anywhere. So it really does depend on your industry. Make sure you're asking about things like that. What kind of internships are available, even if it's unpaid. Most internships are unpaid. So it's not necessarily to get money, it's to get experience so you can make some big bucks later on.
Yeah, and to be honest, and I had some friends that was asking me, you know, would you go back for like a PhD or something like that? Is that something that you want to go back for? And to be honest, where I'm at right now, I don't think I want to go back to school. I don't think I want to go back to school unless somebody else, number one, is going to pay for it.
Come on.
Unless a job's going to pay for it. Say, hey, you know, Tony, you know, we have another $60,000 set aside to send you to school to get a licensure or something. Yes, I'm going to get it. But am I going to pay out of my pocket? No, I don't. I don't think that it will make me more competitive or give me more of an edge in the professional field, or even I don't think that I would go back for a PhD because I don't necessarily need it right now in my industry. So more for me, I think I'm just trying to do more trainings. You know, stay competitive with the trainings that I'm getting in my industry, continuing to get the new information of laws that's changing, the way that best practices that are happening, and staying upbeat on that information. That is what I'm focused on right now. What about you? Would you go back to school for a PhD if somebody paid for it?
Well, you know, I'm actually thinking about that right now. So an option for me, again, it's all about knowing your field, knowing your industry. An option for me is if I was to say be an adjunct professor of some sort. I make a good professor, wouldn't I? You know it. So if I was a professor or something like that, the university, wherever it is I'm teaching, it could be an option that they would pay towards my doctorate degree. So if that was the case, yeah, I sure would go back and get that degree and make some extra money, open up some extra doors. So you have to assess, is it gonna open up more doors for me? If it's gonna keep me on the same path I'm already on, what's the point? You know, it has to advance you in order to be worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then also too, you know, when you're thinking about college or getting another degree, you know, you gotta ask yourself, who is the degree for? Am I getting this degree for me, or am I getting this for status quo? You know, to post on Facebook, IG, hey, I got my master's, I got my doctoral degree, you know, but you're really not happy, or just to impress your family. What are you getting the degree for? Are you actually getting it to move you forward in your professional field, or are you just getting it for status quo? You know, so you gotta really have self-awareness and look at it for what it is, you know. Have you had any situations like that?
Listen, that one hits me right in here, because I think a lot of times we have, especially when you're a first generation graduate, like other people before you didn't graduate. So like you going to college is like, what? You made it to college? Oh, we get ready to blow up. It's like, well, y'all like about to be a social worker. Like, I mean, I don't know how we gonna blow up. Not saying you can't, it just depends on what route you take. But I had to really think, like, am I going back to get this master's because such and such said, oh, wait till you get your master's? Or am I going back to get my master's because I really, really want my master's and I'm passionate about what I'm doing? If I go back and get my doctorate, am I getting my doctorate so I can see a whole bunch of letters behind my name and be flashy? Or am I getting my doctorate because I'm really passionate about being a change agent in the industry? It all depends on who you get your degree for. So really think about that. I did have situations where I had to think, who am I doing this for? And there's been situations where I've had opportunities come up in my field, and now being as self-aware as I am, I can think, am I doing this to please you, or am I doing this to please me? And if I'm doing this to please you, I might have to pass on it. But if I'm doing it to advance me, I'll take it.
That's right. And so I agree with everything she's saying. But one thing, you know, I was talking to one of my friends, and you know, he's a former first generation graduate too, and he was asking me basically, is it worth it? And is your degree worth, you know, the time, the energy, the money that you put into it? What about you? Do you think, how you feel about that?
Oh, it's tricky. I love what I do. I really do love what I do. And as a therapist, I have to have education, training, and licensure behind what I do. It's just a requirement. So I wouldn't be able to do this type of work without the education. Now, if I can do this type of work without it, then okay. But I have to have it legally in order to practice. So I would say for me, it is worth it. Would I have done some things differently along the way? Sure.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth it for me.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I feel like getting my degree is definitely beneficial. It has been able to, with this degree, I've been able to prevail and kind of be a game changer in the industries that I go in. Typically, I'm the only black man, in management, wherever company that I go to. So for me, I think it is really, really giving me an opportunity that I think other people may not necessarily have or may not want. So it has given me an opportunity, and it has been able to give me a certain level of money to be able to make. Let's talk about it. It's the truth. You going to school, you want to make money, right? You don't go to school and grow up broke.
Absolutely.
So you want that, and I think it's definitely beneficial. And then also too, it's I like to say it's like a moral respect. Growing up, I was always told, looked at by teachers and stuff that that I may not necessarily be anything. I'm gonna be a product of my environment. I remember when I took a statewide test and I got back the results, and it told me that the job that I was gonna have after high school, and this is no disrespect to nobody, no disrespect, but the job that I was going to have after high school was just to be a carpenter, because I did so horrible on the test. I was just a bad test taker, and a lot of the questions did not apply to me. They did not apply to the information, the things that I was going through on a day-to-day basis, and the information that I was learning myself. So I just did a horrible job on that test. And for me to say today, I walked across the stage twice with 2 degrees, and start my own business, and I'm married, I've never been in jail, things like that. No disrespect to nobody else. But I've been able to prevail and take a certain level of success that other people haven't. So my degrees are definitely beneficial. So yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, you just kind of weigh out what's the benefits, what's the risk.
Yeah.
So for me, getting the 2 degrees was more beneficial than it was risky. There was some risk associated with it, but the benefits outweighed the risk. So that is our experience on Is 1 Degree Enough? So y'all make sure that y'all post some comments in the comment box below. Let us know, what is your take on it? Do you think 1 degree is enough? What's been your experience? Let's have some dialogue and talk about this thing. So as always, y'all, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to hit us up on some of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
As y'all know, remember to be sure to think, create, and change your own situation if you don't like it. Peace.
No.